America can no longer afford Democrats. This is the second installment of our ongoing series in tonight's preamble. The first thing that you have to know is that the pain Americans are feeling now is not some plague born on the wind. The calamitous fall of the U.S. economy is a direct result of the anti-prosperity socialist policies instituted by the left-wing party in the United States, the Democrats.
Turns out putting socialists in charge of the economy is really bad for the economy, and it's really bad for working men and women. It means galloping inflation. The cost of everything goes up. Cost of electricity, the cost of lumber, the cost of rent, the cost of buying your home, the cost of buying a car, and as we all know, the cost of gasoline.
Conservative Senator Ted Cruz, my senator, is absolutely correct. The cost of everything is skyrocketing, particularly gas. That's the resource we use to go to work, to take our kids to school, ship our goods, and even get some recreation in from time to time, but not in Joe Biden's Democrat economy. Some gas stations in Washington are already preparing the pumps to make room for double-digit pricing, according to the Post-Millennial. That's right. Those in the industry are getting ready for a $10 a gallon gasoline price in Joe Biden's Democrat economy. But it gets worse. Throughout eastern Washington, gas stations are reportedly running out of fuel. So first, it's baby formula that fuels our babies, and now it's gasoline that fuels the U.S. economy. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank some people for putting us in these dire straits. First, I'd like to thank the biased press that made sure that they didn't report the dangers of electing Democrats devoted to socialism and communism. We can thank CNN, MSNBS, ABC, CBS, NBC, The Washington Post, The New York Times, as well as lesser-known papers like the Democrat Morning News in Dallas and the Houston Chronicle. We can thank Democrat media personalities who pretend they are journalists like Chris Cuomo, George Snuffleupagus, Chris Wallace, Jake Tapper, Martha Raddatz, Lester Holt, Don Lime, Rachel Maddow, and a host of others. We can also thank Democrat voters who pulled the lever for these socialists. But I want you Democrat voters to know, we conservatives understand that the majority of you are woefully uninformed and that you've been conditioned through the aforementioned biased press and GovEd to believe all the garbage coming out of Democrats' mouths. Left-wingers have made sure you are clueless, uninformed, and reckless voters. Some of that isn't your fault. Still, you should really have your brains checked after you keep voting for Democrat promises they've never delivered. But lastly, we should thank the Never-Trumpers. Now, unlike Democrat voters, these Republicans knew the dangers associated with electing folks who push socialism and communism. Never-Trump Republicans have no excuses. Unlike Democrat voters, these Never-Trump Republicans knew the misery, knew the incompetence and the treachery they'd be unleashing on the United States by their support for Joe Biden. And they did it to us anyway. The list we found from USA Today includes, but is not limited to, former Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge, Michael Hayden, the surviving McCains, squishy former Senator, the aptly named Jeff Flake, the tweaker, former Ohio Governor John Kasich, former GOP presidential candidate Carly Fiorina, former Congressman Joe Walsh, members of the Lincoln Project, including their co-founder, John Weaver. The FBI launched an investigation into claims Weaver sexually harassed young men. In fact, former staffers were demanding to be released from their NDAs, these non-disclosure agreements, so they could speak publicly about the allegations against the Lincoln Project founder. USA Today says Maryland Governor Larry Hogan supported the architect of America's misery, Joe Biden, as did the milquetoast former RNC chairman Michael Steele. Now, here's a guy who perfected surrendering to leftists. Is it any wonder the RNC began its downhill slide under his lackluster leadership? Now, let's not forget Senators Mitt Romney and Lisa Murkowski. Now, I would be remiss also if I didn't mention the Never-Trump pundit class. The late, great Rush Limbaugh had these cats pegged. He said, The following Republicans who opposed Trump loved talking about conservatism in their writings on Fox News and on expensive cruises, but they never really wanted to see conservatism enacted. Now, I'm thinking, of course, of Bill Kristol, Steve Hayes, Jonah Goldberg, and others who knew what Democrats would unleash on the United States and opposed the America First agenda anyway. We didn't even cover the attacks on free speech, the destructive crime wave, the Democrats' defund the police movement. Hey, what about the Afghan debacle? And what about those open borders with millions upon millions of illegal aliens streaming into the United States? The Never Trump coalition of socialists, corrupt media, and Never Trump Republicans, I'm not going to lie to you, my friends. It's a powerful coalition, and they're really, really bad people. But for this liberty-loving Latino, the most evil ones out of that coalition are the ones who knew the damage that would be coming and worked to make it happen anyway. There's a special place in hell for them, in my view. Of course, give the Democrats time, my friends. They just might make it hell on earth in these United States of America. Just another reason why we can no longer afford Democrats or those who wish to surrender to them.